Hello. So when I heard they were making a Kung Fu Panda 4, I'm not going to lie, like the elder Zoomer I am, I was kind of hyped for it. But the closer we got to release day, the more negative buzz I kept hearing about how generic the movie was. Like, was it written by AI? I don't think it was written by AI, but was it written by AI? And so going in, I kind of had an idea that I might maybe want to make a video about this because this is an IP that I genuinely like and I want to see done to its best possible degree. But even I was surprised when I walked out of the theater with basically already the foundation of a fully formed rewrite in my head, and that is what I will be sharing with you today.
Gaming Cookie Guy Entertainment.
So the main goal for my rewrite before we get into it is pretty simple. This movie clearly wanted to draw a lot from the first movie. And why not? Why not lean into that? Why not lean into that nostalgia and make this really something special for the old fans while still being something to enjoy for newer fans? However, this does mean that in my version and my rewrite, I am scrapping Awkwafina's character. And I'll be the first to say it. I'm an Awkwafina defender. I actually generally enjoy her in movies that I watch. I didn't mind her in this. But let's think about the function of her character. Her character was one that needed to be redeemed on the path to being the Dragon Warrior. I think we have that with a pre-established character. I think we can do that with Tai Lung. So that is the main change that my version is going to make. It's basically going to swap out Awkwafina's character, Zhen, with Tai Lung. And I don't even think this is too far of a cry, far of an idea for the movie. I think this is kind of the direction it was going in anyway. They played up Tai Lung in the marketing, so why not actually do it? Why not actually fulfill Tai Lung's destiny?
The real Dragon Warrior is coming home.
So in my version of Kung Fu Panda 4, the movie would open with the opening of Peng's new noodle shop. Both of his fathers would be there. Everyone would be there, in fact, except for the Furious Five. So I didn't mind the Furious Five not being in this movie. In fact, I think it gives you some new opportunities, if you do want to do that, some opportunities to highlight the theme of this movie, change. So in my version, the Furious Five have gone their way. They have disbanded. Some of them still practice Kung Fu, but some of them, like Mantis trying not to be eaten by his wife, have settled down, but all of them are happy. All of them have moved on to better things, leaving Po behind. And in their place are the four masters we get to see in the original Kung Fu Panda 4. They are the new fighting team I am calling the Fierce Four for marketing purposes. And we see Po's having a great time. He's with his family, he's with his valley, he's with food, and so he really feels like it's the old days. And we see a quick flash of him kicking it with the Furious Five before it cuts back to the present with the Fierce Four, and we watch Po's mood drop just a little bit as he's a bit wistful for what he used to have. But this is before he is pulled away by Shifu telling him that he too must take the next step and choose a successor. We then get to watch the Fierce Four all audition to become the new Dragon Warrior, just like the Furious Five did. But when Po picks himself again, because that was kind of a funny joke, but it alienates the rest of his group. He just doesn't gel with them like he did with the Five. After this, a messenger comes in and informs Po that their fishing village is being attacked. Shifu tells Po to leave it alone. It is not his responsibility anymore. He has higher priorities. Let the Four handle it. But Po is intent on proving why he is still the one and only Dragon Warrior. So he goes and he fairly easily defeats the Manta Ray in this battle. But upon being defeated, this villain reveals that he was only meant to buy time for his master, Tai Lung. Cut to the Valley of Peace being raided by a lizard army led by Tai Lung. We watch some of the action as we intercut Po racing back to the Valley of Peace, back with the destruction of, say, the noodle shop, say some key locations that we've gotten to know. We cut back to Po entering the village only to find it destroyed. He gets to the steps of the Jade Palace and finds an injured Shifu. Po is racked with guilt. He apologizes to Shifu. Shifu tells him there is no time for that. Tai Lung has attacked the valley. He has stolen the dragon scroll, and he has kidnapped the Fierce Four. And yes, of course, this will be the chameleon posing as Tai Lung for this raid, but I don't want to give that away to the audience just yet, and so they're going to look identical. The chameleon's transformations will not be stylistic in any way. Apologies. But there will be signs, like, for example, how Tai Lung is commanding a lizard army and won't actually do any kung fu in the scenes we see. Shifu and Po spend some time. We get a couple scenes of them tracking down the army and Tai Lung. They track them down to Juniper Mountain, which at the base of this mountain is the sprawling Juniper City that we see in the original. And so we can go into the city, we can do some hijinks, we can include a chase scene set to Crazy Train for some reason. But the important thing is they finally make their way up to a mine at the top of Juniper Mountain. Of course, they will be mining for the, I believe, unnamed anti-kung fu medal in the movie, which is crazy because I think like day one of fictional writing class is just giving fictional medals stupid names. And so I'm going to call this one Chameleon. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Unobtainium. Shifu tells Po to look for the survivors. He's going to check somewhere else. And since Shifu is still weak from the fight before, Po offers him the Staff of Wisdom to help defend himself. And oh yeah, we're getting some reveals right now. Po discovers a cage made out of the chameleon, and inside is the real Shifu. He is badly injured, very weak, and he has already lost his kung fu. We then cut to the Shifu we have been following through most of this journey, and this is revealed to be the chameleon with the Staff of Wisdom. She uses this staff to summon the real Tai Lung and steal his kung fu. Meanwhile, it takes a lot of effort, but Po frees the real Shifu, and they make it back just in time to watch Tai Lung be summoned and have his kung fu stolen. The chameleon is not a lizard to be trifled with and says to Tai Lung, "You are no longer of any use." She plans to kill him, but at the last moment, Shifu, in his last act, jumps in front of Tai Lung to save him. He takes the full brunt of the attack, and it is devastating. Po now holds off the chameleon while Shifu and Tai Lung are able to have a last exchange of words. Shifu tells him that he is finally at peace because he was able to see his son one last time before he blows away in a gust of blossoms. Meanwhile, Po is getting his butt kicked because the chameleon now has the kung fu ability of Shifu, the Fierce Four. She has the Staff of Wisdom, and now she has the kung fu of Tai Lung. Po realizes this is not a fight he can win, so he grabs Tai Lung and jumps off the side of the mountain to escape. Okay, a lot going on here. I know, that was heavy. I like this version, first off, because it gives the chameleon a reason to turn into Tai Lung specifically. In the original, it seems like she just did this as an intimidation factor, and let's be real, she did it for the marketing of the movie. But in this, it's so Po really has a reason to go after this person. Also, I really did debate giving the final interaction with Shifu to Po, but I just thought it made more sense to have him fight the chameleon here and lose, kind of do that whole journey, but also give this moment to the character we're putting new emphasis and focus on, Tai Lung. Po and Tai Lung wake up. They are in an abandoned tea house teetering at the edge of a cliff on the other side of the mountain. We see they crashed through the roof to get there. And we have a version of that tea house action scene from the original movie as Tai Lung lashes out at Po, but he's unable to really do anything without being able to use kung fu. He's been effectively nerfed at this point. Imagine along the lines of like Cusco and Pacha working together to scale the wall in Emperor's New Groove, or the one I'm actually copying, which is that literal balancing scene in National Treasure. And now is when we get to do my favorite part. We get to do all the real character work, the stuff I can't quite cover in these videos, so I hope you just get the sense of what I am going for. We get to lay the groundwork for Tai Lung's redemption as he has reached the lowest point. He can no longer do kung fu, which defined him as a character. Also, he just lost the person who raised him, and he was powerless to stop them. Meanwhile, his greatest adversary is the one comforting him along the way, which only makes things worse. The two of them are able to trek around the mountain, growing closer, understanding each other along the way, and they finally make it back to Juniper City, where Po decides to try and recruit the Thieves' Den, who he had a run-in with earlier. Now, I'm not totally sold on this because it is a small retcon, and it probably doesn't gel with, like, the Legends of Awesomeness show, but whatever, it's my rewrite, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. In my version, we get a reveal from Ke Huy Quan's character Han that Tai Lung was born in Juniper City. His parents were part of the Thieves' Den. They took him to the Valley of Peace because they wanted a better life for him, a life away from crime. And it's because of this ancestral connection that the Thieves' Den agrees to help Po and Tai Lung. And now, since we've taken a bit of a detour, we finally meet back up with the original movie. We now have the Thieves' Den, Po, and now Tai Lung, instead of Zhen, set to face off against the Chameleon and her lizard army. They have their battle plan. Po and the Thieves' Den are sent to fight the Chameleon and her army, while Tai Lung goes off to try and free the Fierce Four and any other captives he finds. He does find them. They are in cages of Chameleon, but he cannot free them. He's too weak until he notices something that's just left on the ground amongst the prisoners. It's the Dragon Scroll. The lizards did take that from the Jade Palace when they raided the city, but they didn't need it. They didn't care about it. They just left it in the dirt. It wasn't important to them. This is what Tai Lung has been searching his entire life for, and it's just there in the mud. Tai Lung knows what's in it. He knows what's going to happen when he opens the scroll, but he picks it up and he opens it anyway, and he sees his reflection and he hears Po's voice from the first movie.
There is no secret ingredient. It's just you.
In this moment, Tai Lung finally connects the lesson that has been evading him his entire life. And he realizes no one can take away my kung fu. This is who I am. And so he rekindles that fighting spirit. He regains the will to fight. He regains his kung fu skill, and he breaks whatever spell the Chameleon had him under. Watching him do this, watching him go through this, inspires the Fierce Four to do the same. And together with Tai Lung and the Fierce Four, they're able to fairly easily overcome this previously unstoppable obstacle in the Chameleon metal. Now, having broken the effect of the spell the Chameleon had them on, the Chameleon is weakened enough for Po to take the Staff of Wisdom back from her, and now together with Tai Lung and the Fierce Four, they are all able to defeat her. Skadoosh. And if we're feeling extra spicy, we can have Tai Lung do the whooshy finger hold, like the first movie. After the battle is over and the dust has settled, Tai Lung humbly comes to Po and tells him he is ready to be sent back to the other side. But Po, having gone through some changes of his own, looks at Tai Lung, looks at the Fierce Four, looks at the Staff of Wisdom in his hands, and tells Tai Lung that there's time for that later, but right now, the Fierce Four needs a leader, and the Valley of Peace needs their new dragon warrior. And that's it. Yeah, I mean, we can do the Hit Me Baby One More Time epilogue if we want. In fact, I recommend it because that is some good fun. But that is my version of Kung Fu Panda 4, in which the theme is change, and we get to see from movie 1 to movie 4 all of our main characters change in some way. The 5 have moved on. Po has ascended to spiritual leader. Shifu has passed on, and Tai Lung has become what he always sought to become. Please let me know in the comments if there is anything you would have changed about Kung Fu Panda 4. I certainly hope you enjoyed my version. If you did, please give it a like. Please subscribe for more videos. I will see you then. Dun, dun, dun.